Hello everybody, hope everyone's doing alright today. What I want to talk about today is America's Great Loot. I'll put the link to the website for the Cruisers Association. And the way I'm looking at doing it myself is in about, probably looking at winter 2021, starting this loop. If you don't know about America's Great Loot, the link will be down below and you can read up on it. Looks like a real fun time, and what I'm planning on doing is starting out probably in the southern leg, going up and around through, and when I'm done, hitting the Caribbean, Bahamas, all that kind of stuff, before heading back up to the Pacific Northwest. And what I'm looking at are several different sailboat options. To do that out, the biggest issue with doing this is there's a bridge coming out of Chicago that has a little over 19 feet of clearance. If you can't go under that, you're not going to be able to complete the loop. So, from what I've been reading up on, there's ways to get your boat demasted a little before the bridge and a little bit after the bridge. What a lot of people do is, since you're going down the Illinois, Mississippi, and Tennessee rivers, a lot of people, from what I've seen, go all the way down through here with the mast pulled and just motor all the way down, because you really can't sail through most of this area. Now, depending on what boat I get, I will either, if it's one I can raise or lower by myself, I'll go ahead and do that, because there are a couple areas where you're on lakes and stuff like that where you would be able to sail around. But since I want to go into the Caribbean and the Bahamas, I'm not really looking at that kind of a trailerable boat where it's easy to lift and lower the mast for the crossings. And if I decide to go anywhere else with this boat, I just don't think it's a good idea to have a low-grade setup. Deck step masts, a lot of people complain about them, but a firmly planted deck step is going to be a heck of a lot better than a tilt-up mast, that's for sure. Because who knows, if I have enough cash and the boat's in good enough shape, I wouldn't mind going and doing the European arc and then coming back with the regular arc, going up into Europe by boat and then coming back down and into the Caribbean by boat. But that's probably not going to happen after doing the loop. I'll probably be doing some other stuff immediately afterwards. But what I'm looking at right now is stuff like the Cape Dory, which the biggest downfall, if you don't know this website, it's Sailboat Data. If you're looking at sailboats, they pretty much give you everything you need to know. If there's a better one, please put it in the comments. That's mainly what I'm doing this for, is I'm trying to figure out which way I want to do this. Tells you pretty much everything there is about the boat. The downfall to this boat is I went through a bunch of them, and it looks like on these we're only getting about a 20 gallons of fuel. And what you'll find is with the loop from right about here is St. Louis, is somewhere right in here. From St. Louis into Paducah, Kentucky, you've got a pretty good stretch where you can't get fuel. So the smaller your fuel tank, you might have to go jerry cans. There is a YouTube channel, I'll look it up, but they started from the Great Lakes and they've been powering this whole season down to the Gulf. And when I find their channel, I got it saved. I'll go ahead and take a quick peek and see if I can find that for you real quick. And Oh no, that's going to take too much time. I've got too many channels I follow. We can, I'll put it in the link below. But they went and had their mast shipped by truck down to the coast, and they're just powering all the way through. They have, I believe they said they've got approximately not quite 40 gallons in some jerry cans. They've not had to use jerry cans, and they just went through the worst section of it. Well, the posted videos through the worst section of it just a couple weeks ago. If you do it like what most people do along the loop, it takes approximately 1 year. It's a pretty good trip. Most people do short staggers, and they'll stop. Let's say they start up in down in southern Florida. They might stop in Jacksonville, Florida, and do some sightseeing around there, and then go up into Georgia, do some sightseeing, maybe go up the river a little ways. South Carolina, do the same thing. But they basically, most people do it. If they do it continuously, it's in about a year. They basically just go up and along the loop, leave in the wintertime from down here, and just follow the warm weather up and get out of this area before it starts getting too cold, and then just drop back down into the southern areas. My trip's probably going to be a little bit on the outside. I might do some extra trips because I have family up in southern Maine. So it's a couple years, so I've got a lot of things to look at. But like I said, the Cape Dory Sea, I kind of like this layout. The biggest issue I have is the amount of fuel. I believe this one holds is about 20 gallons. I'll have to find some and verify that. They don't have it listed on this one. Most of the boats I've been looking at are full keel, because it seems that most of your long keel, full keel boats have the lower draft, because one of the other requirements is you really don't want to get much over 5 feet of draft, because there's some areas you will have issues. And then, like I said, I'm planning on going to the Caribbean, Bahamas afterwards, and everything I've seen on that, you really, if you have real deep draft, you've got to, there's some areas that you really aren't going to be able to anchor out on, and some areas where you are able to anchor, you're going to have to anchor further out than other people because of your draft and the tides. The other thing I'm looking at is I would prefer a dual cabin. I am preferring to keep it under 35 feet, definitely under 40, because of marina fees. And when I do go to the Caribbean, I believe a lot of those areas you're paying by the boat size too. So I'm not a rich man, so I would rather not spend a whole lot of marina fees and charges to go into the Caribbean and visit different areas out there, if possible. So just several of the boats I've been looking at: the Cape Dories, the Baba Coasts, some Columbias, a whole bunch of them. If you look down, they have the calculations here, which basically tell you it's not a very fast boat. It gives you, good ideas of all that stuff. It tells you, like the boat I have up right now is a fairly heavy sailboat for its length, and it is lower end of the moderate blue water cruising boat. So going across the Gulf, if I hit some real rougher seas, the boat will definitely handle it. I'd rather not use a coastal type cruising boat, just because I'm a little on the paranoid side. I'd like to have something a little stiffer underneath me. The Columbia 36 Mark II, It has only about 30 gallons of fuel, so it's not all that great. It's getting closer. That's going to be the biggest issue I have, I believe, is my tankage for fuel. The CSYs, the 33s has a pretty good tankage from what I remember looking at this stuff earlier. Yep, 40 gallons. This would probably do me. The downfall is if I've got family or friends that visit me for a section of it, I've got the V-berth for sleeping and the couch set up. That is a downfall for the smaller boats. You generally don't have a lot of your space available. This one you actually have, depends on the interior plan. You've got a couple capabilities of berths, and it's a fairly decent blue water cruising boat. This is a 37 though, and I would like to keep it under 35 if possible. But there's a bunch of the endeavors that would work. Of course, a catamaran would be beautiful, but I definitely am not going to have the cash flow for a catamaran without having to do a whole lot of work on the boat. The Hans Christiansens, I really like these, but unfortunately, from what I've seen on sailboat listings and some other places, they're pretty much out of the price range I'm going to be probably looking at spending. Great amount of fuel. Definitely wouldn't have to have a fuel issue with this. Great blue water boat for its size. That would be a very nice boat to do the trip on. As you see, you've got dual berths, so if I have friends or family with me. And the other reason I'm looking at, besides all of those charges, I'm looking at lower prices. This is the Island Packet 31, and these are real sturdy boats, reasonably priced. Only 25 gallons on this one, and this is a coastal cruiser at the 31. I believe when you get these guys up mid to upper 30s, they're more blue water kind of boats. The way it's looking now, these are not going to be favorable. The North Sea, Morgan's, the Orion 27-2. I like that boat, but it's only a 20-gallon fuel tank. And I've also looked at the Tartans, the 37 with the centerboard. I really like the Tartan Talk. The problem is, when I'm done with this, I would like to get back up to the Pacific Northwest, and it would be extremely expensive to ship the boat, truck the boat, when you're looking at that size of a boat, back up that way, which means getting manpower to help you get through the Panama canals, and probably a trip either all the way to Hawaii and then back up when the season's correct, or going several hundred miles off the coast and fighting your way all the way up the coast, since the currents are going the wrong way and the predominant winds are going the wrong way. But please leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. I appreciate it. You have a beautiful day.